welcome back to Kill Rock Radio here on KillRockRadio.com. My name is Rocky, back up in this motherfucker on this episode of Kill Rock Radio. We're going to get into some weird shit going on in the world of hardcore metal, where a band has fired their singer for trying to turn one of the other band members into another gender. I'll explain in a bit. Also, ZAKK WYLDE of the touring Pantera tribute thing has come out and started talking about possibly recording new quote-unquote Pantera music. We'll talk about that a little bit. Also, FREHLEY of KISS has come out again, and he talks about the moment he realized he had lost all power in KISS. We'll talk about that here in a second. So now, in a story that was sent to the email, info@killrockradio.com, I have no clue if this is a real story, if this was some like internet joke gone too far. If it is real, it's some of the wildest shit I ever heard. Okay, so this is a band by the name of Llorona. And so, you know, it's a story that's actually become fairly common these days. You know, a band goes onto their social media platform and they explain that they've had to fire their vocalist. You know, that's a crazy situation, certainly, but this situation was made crazier by the reasoning as to why Llorona had to fire their singer. In their statement, which was, of course, posted and has since been deleted from their Instagram, they say, "We have decided to part ways with our vocalist Diego due to admission of very disturbing and concerning behavior towards one of our band members and their partner. He has admitted to being obsessed with said partner and has been attempting to sabotage their relationship by cutting pre-workout he frequently gifts from his job with high amounts of estrogen in them."
Calm down, girl.
Now, to make it clear, when they refer to pre-workout, it's like, you know, those shakes and shit that motherfuckers make right before they work out. He was cutting it like, you know how some drug dealers might cut cocaine with other shit to essentially water down the coke. So he was cutting in estrogen into this pre-workout shake mix that he was gifting to his fucking guitarist, I believe. Estrogen, which of course, you know, anybody who is trying to transition from one gender to the other, male to female, you would take estrogen and suppress your testosterone, and that would start to make you naturally develop certain feminine features.
Well, you know the problems I've been having with holes.
So then the question becomes, why the fuck would you do that to your fucking buddy? Is it like a, you know, like a punked situation, some sort of practical joke? Maybe he started like one of these prank YouTubes. Like once his buddy is a full-on female, he's like, "Oh, pranked you." The statement continues. He has been attempting to force a transition onto him for the last 5 months in hopes that would give him the opportunity to swoop in once he looked stronger and more manly in comparison. The parenthetical there is stupid caveman mindset that makes zero sense. This tampering has caused confusion and thousands of dollars in medical bills the past months trying to figure out what's wrong. We would not know any of this unless Diego had gotten way too intoxicated and ousted himself and then stated an admission of all this via text. There are many more disgusting details that have been left out for the sake of privacy and general censorship. Now, this is really a song as old as time. As long as dudes have had girlfriends, their homies have wanted to fuck their girlfriends.
Man, I've been walking around here. Something smells good. I don't know if it's my burrito or your vagina, but it's turning me on.
What a lot of women don't realize, and this is shocking to me. I always thought, of course, this makes sense because women have their girl talk and they talk about guys' weenies and if they can do things for certain amounts of time and if they're sweet and all that stuff. You got your girl talk. Of course, you're going to have guy talk. Guy talk is fucking gross. If you're fucking a dude, just understand, he is telling his friends about it, and he's telling them everything. In fact, he might even be adding in shit that's not even there, because we start to talk to our guy friends and we give our guy friends all the fucking filth. You know what I'm saying? And what happens a lot of times, if your guy friend that you're telling all these stories to, either he himself is single, so he's just jacking off every night, or the guy has a girlfriend, and to a dude, the grass is always greener on the other side. Regardless of what your girlfriend is doing, if your buddy starts telling you that his girlfriend, oh man, she tossed the salad, she's sucking balls, she's riding it out, she's doing the whole deal.
I mean, everything's worth doing. Worth doing right.
And you're, you start to say, well, my chick, fucking, she barely lets me do nothing. What happens inevitably is everyone starts to lust after your girlfriend because they know so much about her now. So that's a really common thing. It's also incredibly common for guys to stab each other in the back, throw each other under the bus when it comes to a lady. What would you do to your homie Diego if you find out not only, first off, trying to snag your buddy's girlfriend in an aggressive manner? That's already way over the line. That's already, a situation where we might come to blows. But on top of that, not only are you trying to steal my girl, but you're straight up trying to steal my fucking gender from me.
You're gonna die, you dainty little fuck.
Holy shit. That is a violation of an order that I think we've never even really seen up till now. Like, what is that worth? You see out in the world today, people are fucking dying over gender. And you're stripping that from me? On top of that, you're trying to fuck my girl? Bro, if you get fired from the band and that's all that happened to you, you are lucky. Because that's absolutely grounds for a sick ass beatdown. I wouldn't even look at you sideways if you got 2 or 3 friends and just jumped Diego and beat the fuck out of him.
Small price to pay for the smiting of one's enemies.
I don't advocate it. I'm saying I wouldn't look at you sideways. If we're at street level, and I understand you say, well, it's cowardly, why don't you take them on one by one? Because as bad as this guy fucked you up, now you're like half a woman. So if you show up and he beats the fuck out of you, his domination over you is even more complete. This isn't about being manly. This is about revenge. Revenge is fucked up. We ain't got no rules when it comes to revenge. So you jump a motherfucker. I'm just saying, maybe, you put a thumb in his ass and videotape it. But once again, I don't advocate any of that stuff. I'm just saying that's shit that happens at the street level when you try to take a motherfucker's gender. I think. I don't know. That's just, once again, it's not a common thing. If you wanted to like fully dominate him, you would then of course have sex with him once he had fully transitioned into a woman. You fuck his girlfriend, then to punish her, you cheat on her by fucking your ex-friend that you've now turned into a woman. That's full domination. Diego will have fully dominated the story were he to do something like that. Of course, that would be fucking wild. But, is it not all on the table? Once you spiked your homie with estrogen in hopes to bang his woman, I've had buddies really stab me in the back over chicks, and I'm no angel. I've stabbed motherfuckers in the back before. Drugging anyone in any scenario is a completely fucked up situation. Back when I was a kid, it would be considered like a funny thing to you get one of your buddies, you throw a goddamn some sort of pill in their drink and they're stumbling around. You're like, hey, stumbly. You start talking shit about them. They pass out. You do the old balls to the forehead or some sort of mushroom stamp, Trojan war helmet or whatever the fuck that thing was where you just lay it across the nose.
What is it with you people? I mean, you guys are always touching each other's nipples, putting your balls in each other's mouths.
It's fun. It's fun.
All that stuff used to be considered like, horseplay, the type of shit that boys got into. Nowadays, it would be considered assault. And you can't necessarily play around like that anymore. Thanks, Obama. I mean, there has to be something beyond assault. I don't know what the degrees entail or whatever, but trying to change a guy's gender figuratively behind his back, that's a hell of a thing to do. I've never ever heard of it. It might affect his ability to get a boner and all that shit. In a lot of ways, if you want to make a guy look like shit, it really is genius. But holy fuck, is that diabolical? If all that happened is you got fired, motherfucking Diego, your ass got off lucky. This got posted, I think, who picked this up? Metal Injection picked this up. It blew the fuck up, of course, because how could it not? It's an insane story. Now that it's blowing up, the band has completely scrubbed all their shit of this. So it makes one wonder, is this a real story? Was this some sort of joke? The statement continues, as for Diego's response, it cannot be further from the truth on the supplement side of things. The only sealed products he would provide were proteins, but the other products were always unsealed because they were tossed at his job if they couldn't sell it, hence why it was free. So Diego must be working up in some sort of like GNC type place. And he's like, oh man, I got this shit. We were going to throw it out. You want to get hooked up, And of course, if you're in a band and shit, odds are you're not super rich, especially a band that nobody knows how the fuck to find anything about them. So anyways, it continues. He also has easy access to steroids and hormones because of his gym practices. I am going to be seeing an endocrinologist over the next few months to track my hormonal fluctuations to see if my estrogen levels are extremely heightened and go back to normal over time. I have had physical changes from the hormones besides stomach ulcers, weight loss, and muscle fatigue that I will not get into, as well as notable mental changes. I will be getting the last batch of pre-workout he gave me tested for estrogen. I have about 2 to 3 cups left of it. He will not pass off what he admitted to as a joke or confusion. Even in his state of drunkenness, what he did is disgusting and has an immense negative effect on my life. So he references Diego's response. I haven't seen Diego's response. I haven't seen any posting. I can't find any trace of any of these motherfuckers. So I don't know what was going on. It blew up. It went viral. And the band was like, hey, we don't want this story out there. And everybody's like, well, what the fuck? Why would you think that nobody would talk about this? It's such an insane situation. The singer said it was a joke, but the guitarist had posted a screen cap of Diego's admission. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. The fact that they want it taken down, it makes me think that there's some sort of gimmick going on that has yet to be seen. I guess we'll see. I don't know how the fuck you get over somebody like trying to turn you into a woman and steal your girlfriend. Fucking dude said he's had mental changes and shit. Like, what does that mean? I know people who are, I have some friends who are trans and they do the estrogen treatments and all that shit. And I mean, their voices, if you hear them on the phone, these motherfuckers sound like women. So I'm sure there's a change to the vocal quality there. You might start growing some titties. You know what I would think though, is if he's giving you high levels of estrogen, it might hurt your overall ball function. So that is definitely something to watch for. If anything, you might have to start hitting yourself with some testosterone treatments and shit like that. Anyways, if it is a real thing, goddamn, bro, I hope your balls work fine. I hope you're able to stay with your lady. To this guy's girlfriend, give a motherfucker like 6 months to get it together. They literally tried to change him into a woman. Cut the guy some slack if his voice is getting a little high. Maybe it's he's getting a little soft, maybe a little fucking curvaceous and sexy.
I would not date a man. I would not carry a purse. I would not put on makeup.
But, cut the guy some slack. Anyways, moving on. So next we have the first of many conversations that we were bound to have. Once the Pantera tour became such a successful thing. As the show has continued on, it's gained momentum, and at this point, these motherfuckers are selling out some very large venues, and people are just going apeshit for the show. I don't know if part of it is all the weird pushback that there's been from the internet in terms of people saying that this is some sort of fucked up sellout move, or this is some sacrilegious bullshit. You know, people bring up how Vinny felt about the prospect of getting Pantera back together with ZAKK WYLDE in the place of his brother Dimebag. He said he never wanted to have shit to do with it. He compared the whole situation to like an ex-wife that won't leave you the fuck alone. And so, you know, it makes sense that there's a lot of people that do say that, you know, this is bullshit. It's bullshit that you guys are doing this. The way the show comes off, it's clearly a celebration of the band, but as it has gained momentum, as it's gotten bigger, you hear how great these motherfuckers sound, and it was a conversation that we were going to have eventually. Will the band record new music, and what the fuck are they going to be called? If so, because if these motherfuckers recorded some new music as quote unquote Pantera,
You fucker! You fucking bitch!
people would be freaking the fuck out, setting themselves on fire outside of Phil's house. It would just be mass hysteria if they started recording this shit and calling it Pantera.
You cocksucker!
Now, if you've heard this band and you just look at the band for the sum of its parts, it's a super group. Phil Anselmo on vocals, Rex Brown on bass, ZAKK WYLDE on guitar, Charlie Benante on drums. To say that band would get together and record an album, would it turn out badass? You'd assume it would. So that being said, ZAKK WYLDE was asked about this on a recent episode of Trunk Nation, and his answers actually give me a little bit of peace when it comes to the whole situation. Because like I said, I've seen it. If you said, hey, these guys are going to do an album together, would you listen to it? Fucking of course I would. It sounds fantastic. It sounds like it would be fucking awesome. Would I go see them live if they were just doing an album of new shit? Yeah, I fucking would. Would I go if they were doing a half and half of classic Pantera shit and then whatever the fuck they spin this off into? Yes, I would. There's no scenario where I wouldn't go see it. Even if they recorded as Pantera, which I'm telling you they're not going to do, because ZAKK WYLDE himself has said fuck no to that. So on Trunk Nation, on Sirius XM, ZAKK WYLDE talked about the possibility of this reformed Pantera putting out some new music. He said, and I quote, "No, I think you would have to call it something else. You know what I mean? Pantera is those four guys. So yeah, you can't replace that." When he was further questioned about the whole thing, ZAKK WYLDE said, yeah, if that was ever a bridge we crossed, we'd have to wait until we get there. But right now, it's just the four of us celebrating what the fellas created. Fellas referring to the classic lineup. Now, WYLDE has also said, you know, just to make it clear, he is down to make some new music. He says, and I quote, "Yeah, of course. How could you call it Pantera unless it was just pre-existing material and we were going to record it? Stuff that was in demo state or whatever. And it is songs that the guys wrote. But as far as new songs, it would have to be, you'd call it something else." Now, even though there's been a really loud opposition to this lineup of Pantera touring, it's mainly been online. When you go to the shows, it's such a fucking love fest. If anything, it's just going to get bigger as it rolls, because that's what's been happening. It's been a snowball effect. I think it's eventually going to happen, because what the fuck is everybody else doing? I mean, at this point, this has to be bigger than anything that ZAKK WYLDE is doing with any of his other bands. Certainly the same can be said for Phil and really everybody there. Right now, like ticket for ticket, Pantera is one of the best selling acts in all of rock music. So they all of a sudden they've become a force to be reckoned with. And the offers, I'm sure, have already been rolling in to see if those guys want to get together and do a new album of shit. But once again, you'd have to call it something else. It would have to be a completely different name. I don't give a fuck if they're making music that sounds like Pantera, because it would make sense if you're going to take it out on the road with the Pantera classic shit, that you would want music that could blend in well with Pantera. But, you know, if you came out and made kind of Pantera sounding music, these motherfuckers online are so sensitive about it. God knows if they put their hands on any unfinished Pantera demos and finish them, like Zach even referenced, I don't even think anybody would be cool with that.
You fucked it up! You fucked it up!
Because Pantera is Pantera. To me, this band touring as Pantera, I get what people, I get the beef that people had with it. I myself didn't originally think that they were going to call it that, but obviously they have. So even though I was a little iffy on that, I did grin and bear it, and thank God that I did, because holy shit, that was a good time. So we'll see what's going to become of this. The fact that anyone's talking about it at all means that, like, as far as I'm concerned, the wheel is in spin, as they say. This is gonna happen. It's just a matter of time, because once this tour is over, Phil's gonna want to keep the party going. He's been openly talking about how seeing all these young people at the shows, it's just completely revitalized him. One thing we know about Phil Anselmo is that motherfucker doesn't know when to walk away from the party, so he's gonna want to keep it going. And the only feasible thing is to make a new album that you could weave in with your classic Pantera shit. That's something Phil was already doing on the road before this whole thing popped up. He had an album he had done under the banner of Phil Anselmo and the Illegals, and they would come out and play a few of their songs, but that was kind of some shit you'd have to sort of like just live through to get to the point where he would come out and do something that he would refer to as a vulgar display of Pantera. So this is something that Phil has always wanted, to do this type of show. As I said, it's gonna happen. So you better fucking learn to love it. Do not try to call this shit Pantera. Well, fuck it. I guess we're gonna see. Anyways, moving on. Next, I've got some Ace Frehley news. My boy Ace, he seems like a good guy. He does interviews for whoever. He's very open. He just says shit. He might just be at that point in life where he truly doesn't give a fuck anymore. And that seems like a very beautiful and free place to reside. So he did an interview and he was all over the place. Of course, he had beef with his former band members. He had shit to say about replacements. He had shit to say about everything. Let's check in with our boy Ace and see what's going on with him.
Yeah, I mean, we're all deep down inside. We're all still friends, you know. We all love each other. You know, we're brothers in rock and roll, you know. Sure, we have our spats. We call each other's names and, you know. Yeah, but it's like we've known each other since 73. I mean, you know, we just celebrated 50 years as a band, even though I was in and out of the band twice.
He loves to talk about how much he loves those guys, and then he proceeds to say a lot of low-key, passive-aggressive shit.
Tommy's been playing my solos for the last 20 years. Yeah, it would be nice if he came up with something original himself, but, you know, he was told by Paul and Gene to play my stuff, so.
It wouldn't be an Ace Frehley interview if he didn't have a dig for Tommy Thayer for essentially putting on Ace's skin and playing Ace's shit for the last 20 years. So that's one thing I love about Ace, is that he is never, ever, ever going to let this go, because if you were to ask him, he has let it go. This is just how Ace is. If you listen to him talk about anything, the guy's fucking way out there. I understand how they ended up giving him like the spaceman gimmick. He's a fucking weirdo. The more and more I listen to him, I know the first time I ever really heard him speak, it really does sound like a drunk ass, sloppy, pillhead type motherfucker. And I don't know what the fuck is going on with Ace behind the scenes, but I'm to the point where I can believe that this is just how this motherfucker is. And if so, it makes me think, God damn, what must he have been like when he was like drinking hard and doing coke and all that shit? This dude must have been insane.
We don't always see eye to eye and everything, but, once Peter left the band, Paul and Gene always overrode my point of view, because, when Peter was in the band, it was a Democratic group. And I didn't even realize it, but when Peter left, I realized I had lost all my power in the band because pretty much Paul and Gene are workaholics and like to do things their way. So if I don't like the way something is happening, I get outvoted, I was dead set against The Elder. I didn't think it was the right album for the right time,
Sure.
It's not a bad record. I don't think our fans were expecting a record like that. And I kept telling them during the recording process, I said, I think it's a big mistake, of course it bombed. I'm a street kid and I kind of, I have a sense of what kids want to hear.
An interesting thing, he mentions that he was against The Elder. For those of you who don't know, The Elder was like a concept album, which is of course not what people are looking for from Kiss. You want fucking rock and roll all night and party every day, that type of shit. They tried to get way too serious. Ace said he was against The Elder, but outvoted. So you go all the way back to before The Elder. That's like one of those big multiverse what ifs. It's just like, what if Peter Criss had never left the band? What if when the time comes to make The Elder, Peter Criss is there to vote no, and you end up not doing The Elder? What would they have done instead? It really could have changed the entire trajectory of where that band ended up going. That's really interesting. Anyways, I'm happy any Ace Frehley shit y'all send me. The guy's a goddamn character. So if Ace is out there and his heart is beating, he's gonna have some fucking catty, shady, side-eye shit to say, and God bless him for it. Keep it going, Ace.
When I'm not having fun anymore, I'll either get a new band or I'll retire. I don't know.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to your comments. info@killrockradio.com is where you would send your comments, or you can get up in our DMs, comment on any of our shit. We will try to get back to as many of you as we possibly can. Thank you so much ahead of time for your comments. So let's go ahead and get into this. So first we're going to start off with some MGK reaction. Some of you may remember he put out a razor blade shaped guitar and that was going to start kids fucking cutting themselves and shit like that. So my homie Sick Productions says, at the end of the day, shit sells. You know what though, Sick? I don't think it is selling. They've had to mark the thing down already. 5 hundos. Like if you could get it down under $1,000, then maybe I could imagine buying that fucking thing. But holy shit, it's not even, it doesn't even look cool. Next, we've got some comments on the, the Spirit Box thing. Are they hypocrites for playing with architects? At this point, the shows have happened. The world didn't fall apart. And to give you an update, the number of LGBT plus kids that were beaten and fucking murdered and all that shit at the Spirit Box Architects shows, it is, my notes say fucking zero. Zero. Apparently it was not even a big deal at all, but shockingly the internet made a big deal about it. We did get some commentary. My homie KillPop123 says, find something better to do than post this clickbait garbage. Is it clickbait? Like, I'm not trying to push any sort of agenda forward. Somebody sent me a story. Then I'm like, oh, hey, cool. I read the fucking thing. And I had that question, so I put it out there. Some of you have responded to me. I'm reacting. This is a fucking conversation. And if you got a fucking problem with it, don't pay attention to our conversation. Move the fuck on, dog. Anyways. Next, my homie Emanon138 says, I think everyone is so damn sensitive nowadays. It's sickening. No one really gives a shit about your feelings and what you think, so everyone suck it up and get over it. When did groupthink become the norm? Why is no one allowed to hold difference in opinion anymore without it escalating into some high school drama bullshit? You know, one of the great things / horrible things about the internet is that everyone's here, you know? So the range of people runs from little kids all the way through to the elderly. Now, we all know that little kids and the elderly are the dumbest motherfuckers out there. So you have the mass of people that are relatively normal, and you have these polls of dumb fucking idiots that's made up of either really young people or really old people. You know, the internet right now, it's really nothing different than everybody's been in this situation. Let's say you're a teenager, you know, people are just starting to get laid and stuff like that. Somebody's like, oh man, I'm really concerned. I think I might have nutted an old Betty Joe. And your buddy might come up to you and say, oh dude, well, you said you fucked her in a hot tub, right? It's cool. It's impossible for a woman to get pregnant in a hot tub. Yeah, no, the temperature, it raises her temperature. She's, you know, yeah, you're good. You're good. It kills the jizz. The heat kills the jizz, whatever. And people will take that shit. I knew motherfuckers who believed if you would chug a hot beer after taking a nut, you couldn't get pregnant. Why would a hot beer? And then I heard that shit regurgitated as a hot Dr. Pepper. What the fuck is in a hot Dr. Pepper that's going to kill jizz and babies? I don't get it. So, but the point is, dumb motherfuckers will believe whatever, and not only believe it, but re-spout that shit. And that's what the internet is. You know, people would always say, oh, you know, most of us out there are pretty fucking stupid. And you say, oh, who the fuck are you to say that? But the internet is the proof. Look at it. Look at the shit people believe out there. And that's really what it all comes down to. Nobody can understand degrees or shades of gray when it comes to shit. Everything is one way or the other. There's no concept of compromise, because at this point, the term compromise has become like a bad word. But you need to understand that that's boomer thinking, where it's like, oh, you know, no compromise. Compromise is how shit gets done. So that's what we have here. You have Spirit Box using their fucking brains. In one case, Ronnie Radke, is that too far? Okay, that's too far for us. We can't be part of this. But you know what? Architect's guitarist retweeting. Maybe you even call the guy and say, hey man, what the fuck? He's like, dude, I don't know. I'm just, I'm feeling weird this week. I don't know. And you feel okay about it, and you say, okay, well, we're going to play the show. That's what a reasonable human being does. But these dumb fucking idiots on the internet they're involved in some sort of culture war, and they're so dug in that there is no room for compromise. You either are or are not. If you're Spirit Box, you either are the most inclusive band, or you're pieces of shit and you don't even deserve fame. You don't deserve. That term deserve always comes up. It's childish. That's how you know it's little kids and old and elderly people coming up with it. It's childish. It's a childish mindset. Next, my homie SC3639 says, who cares? Everyone are crybabies these days. Grow the F up. Also, never walk it back. Be who you are. If you find all the triggered trans movement people comical, then so be it. We have so many wimpy people who just grovel and shrink back in the shadows as soon as people play the race or sex or trans card. Man up, be who you are. Don't let cancel culture get you. And I'm pretty much down with this style of thinking. And once again, a lot of people will watch shit like this and say, well, he's a fucking, I've been called a racist so far. I've been called a libtard. I've been called a communist. Of course, I've been called a homosexual like 8 different type of ways. So, but the point is, anytime anyone hears you just fucking spouting real opinion, they want to try to put you on a team. It's unnecessary. The cool thing about the internet is anyone can come out and say anything. So do. Next, my homie, If You Say So, says the Spirit Box fans don't care about Spirit Box. Spirit Box knew Ronnie was outspoken before they agreed touring, so the fans harassed them. That's not real fans. I know people who There's certain bands they don't listen to because they can't separate the artists from the art and all that good stuff. And I can get that. You know, maybe you feel that person is a truly bad person and all that shit. But if I'm a fan of the music, I am a fan of the music. What the person goes on and does in their life, that's their own personal business. Hopefully, if they're breaking any laws, they'll have to face consequences for it. It doesn't mean that the music is anything different. People say, well, you're putting money in the guy's pocket. If you've known rich people, I know several like incredibly miserable rich people. That old mo money, mo problems thing, it's pretty much true. You know, as you get money, like certain problems go away, now new problems arise. Now more people expect more shit out of you and all that shit, and so on and so forth as you move forward in life. A lot of people see money as the be-all, end-all answer to everything, and it's just not true. I understand people say, well, yeah, right, well, some money could really whatever. But look at rich people who have never had to work a day in their lives. They're still miserable. So if you're a fan of a band, like, they're not your fucking robots. They're not you. They don't share your brain. They're not living in your world. So to expect them to be completely in line with all the shit that you believe, it's fucking imbecilic. So just fucking be a fan of music, you stupid asshole. If you don't like them, listen to somebody else. It's very simple, but we've found a way to make this shit really, really difficult. Next, Prometheus Silver says, as a person in the community, I'm not hurt, and honestly, I still love the music. I'm happy because your world is limited. If you're cutting out all these motherfuckers that don't 100% align with your views, you are limiting your spectrum. Your gamut of shit that you're seeing is really lessened, and you're living a shittier life than somebody like me who's seen it all, baby. Next, Moose N7 says, man, bands need to just purposely filter out these freak fans that try to cancel them for even liking a tweet that they don't agree with, LOL. Why would anyone want people like that as fans? I agree, dude. Nobody even wants to pay for shit anymore. So if you're not like making a ton of money, then fuck it. Who cares? At that point, you can start to say, okay, well, you know what? Don't listen to the band then. Who gives a fuck? It's not like you're making any more or less money. The people who are always looking to cancel bands and shit like that, they don't buy shirts. They don't buy fucking tickets. They sit in a fucking room endlessly and look for shit to be mad about. Next, my homie Blastronoid says, the woke mind virus has invaded metal music. Courtney claiming to be in the normal person lane for thinking people can be whatever gender they feel like is absolute lunacy. Even though, LOL, there's nothing normal about any of that. Listen, my whole thing in life is I don't give a fuck. If you're going to tell me you're a girl, fine, whatever, you're a girl. I don't care. To me, this is all bullshit. We're polishing brass on the Titanic, motherfucker. I want the world to be fucking just wild as fuck and colorful. Because that's where fucking joy is, man. Why do we want everything to be the fucking same? But whatever. Beyond all that, let's put all that shit out of the way. It's happening on both sides. Anybody, like, honestly, Blastronoid, you're my homie, but the woke mind virus, at this point, woke has fallen into that list of like red flag words where you're like, okay, well, this is a motherfucker who's very into this internet culture war. Don't let this shit run your life, dude. It's, you know, you can have Republican friends, you can have Christian friends, you can have, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are cool no matter what. And the world is radical, and that's how it's gonna fucking be. So what? Next, Dark Mark Gaming says, I do think it's important for bands/artists to practice what they preach. Architects are obviously a politically driven band, at least lyrically, and they portray themselves to be an inclusive band. However, Dan is just one of 4 members, so you shouldn't cancel or punish the entire band because one member thinks differently. Like, anyone who has a different way of thinking, going and smashing that into the ground, it's not good for humanity. let these thoughts play out a bit. Now, if you're like, oh, and your thought leads to like Nazism, you say, okay, well, we've seen where that goes. That's bullshit. Get out of that. Let's go this way. Just because you're going down a road, it's like a maze. Life and your mind and everything, it's all like a maze. You're heading down one way, you hit a wall, you go back the other way. Unless you're a fucking idiot, and then you just stand there and stare at the fucking wall. And that's what some of you are doing. You're like, oh, you know what? I love this wall. I love being in this fucking corner. This is where I want to be until I die. And I'll let my homie Jeff Fulton have the final word on it. The way I see it, there's a huge difference between Falling in Reverse and Architects. To be honest, the dude that tweeted that isn't the front man, and they were pretty quick to denounce it, compared to Radke, who stands by everything he says. They also were days away from starting the tour when he made the tweet, a lot harder to drop off at that point. Jeff, you said it all. You couldn't say it better. That's absolutely fucking true. It was already getting close when this whole thing comes out. If you drop off, you're going to face some sort of legal ramifications likely. So yeah, and plus, once again, it's a very different situation to have one guy in a band retweeting. Like you got to go like 4 degrees down to get to that. He probably got a stern talking to, and he's gonna learn to never ever share his feelings again. Get in that box, you motherfucker. All right, thank you guys so much for your comments. info@killrockradio.com, or get up in any of our DMs, any of our comments. We see it all. So thank you very much to the Kill Rock Radio audience. Come on back next time. We will keep this conversation going. Until then, I will talk to you crazy motherfuckers later. Peace.
Got any questions or comments? Send them to info@killrockradio.com. To keep up with the latest and catch up on past interviews and clips, search Kill Rock Radio on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to Kill Rock Radio wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm like, oh my God, just listen to it already. Wherever you listen to podcasts.